Welcome back to another episode of Sports Vibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Jitesh Ramakrishnan, and we have got the AFC Championship and NFC Championship reviews. Super Bowl matchup is decided. It's Chiefs versus 49ers, so we got a rematch from 4 years ago. I'm sure a lot of fans aren't really too thrilled about that, but I could convince you that it's going to be a good game. That I can do. I can't really help you if you don't like the Chiefs or the Niners or Taylor's whatever, but I mean I can convince you it's a good matchup. We'll have 2 weeks to get to that. We'll do a little bit of Super Bowl preview later on the episode, but we'll really kind of dive in next week. We're going to do a position by position breakdown, kind of see who's better at each position, make our game picks, talk about all exciting things that you need to know about this year's Super Bowl. But we'll save that one for next week. This week we'll do a little bit of a preview. But I mean, these conference championship games were, they were really good games. I mean, both of them were.
One of them was really good. One of them.
Yeah, Niners Lions is good. They were both. I mean, Chiefs Ravens, like it was just both of them were kind of just.
That one sucked.
They're both rough for the Lions or the Ravens, and both the losing teams, like it kind of like it just in different ways. It felt like they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Like I was just so frustrated with the way the Ravens up, and I will obviously dive into that. But the Lions blowing the lead was probably even worse. So, yeah.
In the spirit of last week with the AFC title game starting first, let's talk about the AFC and then we'll go with the NFC. So, my takeaways. Right. I wouldn't even argue Kansas City won this game. Baltimore just straight up self-destructed after the Zay Flowers touchdown. Like Baltimore just straight up self-destructed. I mean, defense was elite. The defense was elite. There's no question.
Oh yeah. Oh no question.
No,
the way they were wrapping up like check on the backfield and absolutely.
Amongst both teams, the defense was fantastic. Even
beyond the other offense couldn't do much. Yeah. There was basically no scoring in the second half. It was 17-7 Chiefs, and then in the fourth quarter, the Ravens kicked a field goal, and that was all the scoring for the entire game. So I mean, the defenses were both outstanding. I mean, and that's really the reason these two teams I think were really in the conference championship game because of their elite defense. Also, I mean, both teams are they do usually have pretty decent offenses, but I mean I think defense is kind of like their calling card. In this game, it was definitely all defense, especially in the second half.
No question about that.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, if you're Baltimore, that was all just rough.
I'd argue Lamar Jackson was the MVP for the Chiefs. I seriously would, because think about it. The Chiefs' offense was completely shut out in the second half. You honestly can't ask more than that for your defense. I mean, you could be real greedy and ask for four quarters of shutting them out, but that's hardly ever going to happen.
No.
So think about it. Baltimore's defense, even holding this entire team to 17 points. I mean, given that even Kansas City has had lots of wide receiver problems, and of course, I believe they have the most drops in the league, from the regular season. Didn't really look like that. It really did not look like that.
No. They really cleaned up their act with the drops, and they've really figured that stuff out.
I'm kind of convinced Kansas City is putting up a facade where they just suck the entire regular season on offense, just to completely pants
probably
on national
just so
television.
they could exactly. They probably just got bored of the regular season and they wanted to play some road playoff games to prove that they can win on the road, or Mahomes could win on the road, and that's what they did because I
had no doubts that they could win a road game. I
had them beating Buffalo. I just thought the Ravens were on another level, and that was going to cause the Chiefs problems. But I guess I was wrong about that. Yeah, I guess I was wrong about that. But I mean, this game, it was it's a good one.
I'll tell you what we're also wrong for.
I'll
tell you what we're also wrong for. We're also wrong for believing in Lamar Jackson in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was a mistake. It just all went away. They looked really good against the Texans. Really bad against.
The one good thing Lamar did was throw a ball and catch it himself. And the Zay Flowers touchdown.
No, that was elite. Yeah, the Zay Flowers touchdown
Speak.
was nice. He bought
Well,
space, and
he
that was
could
a
have had a
beautiful
second one.
throw.
He could have had a second one if he
Yeah,
wasn't so greedy.
I know, man. Like that one's rough. It was because like first of all the taunting penalty, which you shouldn't be
No, no,
doing that.
no. Listen.
So they
I
could
don't
come
care.
back.
I don't. Listen, I don't care who plays. I don't care if it's my most hated team in the NFL. I really don't. Taunting is the most bogus penalty of all time. People need to be encouraged to have fun in the no
That's
fun
true.
league.
I mean, it's a big.
No,
I mean, you're making
no.
a big play in the A championship game. Like
Yeah,
like I completely get the emotion of it. And the Ravens hadn't
no.
done anything like much in a long
And
time. He catches
here's
the
the thing.
ball, whatever. He spin
No,
the
here's the
ball. I
thing
mean,
that's
big deal, right?
no. Here's the thing that's hypocritical about it, because like Zay Flowers standing over a dude is taunting, like after he makes a catch, but like a defensive lineman sacking the quarterback and then doing like whatever celebration, like "Wada," or just like doing this.
Right.
You're telling me that's not
Mhm.
taunting? Like it's
I know
extremely
it's like
stupid
it's
by the
very
NFL.
subjective. Yeah. I don't know. I felt like it was a little unnecessary me to stand over the player, and I mean the spinning ball, whatever.
It's
But
not
like things
unnecessary.
happen. It really wasn't really. It was a big
No,
moment. Like I completely like I get the emotion of the moment. I get why I did that. Whatever. They fine. Like that happens. Okay. Then like they move back, and then Zay Flowers. Like the big mistake was obviously diving for the end zone, kind of being a little greedy. But at the same time, it's like are you supposed to just go down? Like, I don't know. Like, I completely understand what he was trying to do there. At the same time, it's kind of like you're trying to beat. Legarius Sneed just made the play of the game to have the
I'll
awareness
tell
to
you.
punch that ball
I'll tell
out
you
right
what I don't.
before he
I'll
changed
tell you
the
what I don't
entire
get.
game.
I'll tell you what I don't get. I don't understand why the hell
Yeah.
Lamar threw that pass in triple coverage in the end zone. I do not understand
Oh
it.
no, yeah, that was a bad one. I mean, there was three people there, and likely I think he fell
I mean,
down too, which I
come on,
guess he
come
probably
on.
didn't see. But there's three people
Come
in
on.
the area. That was a
I
bad pass.
I don't even think Zach Wilson would do anything that stupid.
Yeah, it was just that was very, very dumb. It's just
I
like
mean,
over
Zach.
and over again, like between the Zay Flowers thing and then the pass and like got picked up in the end zone. Like the Ravens had chances after chances and they kept like messing it up. And
And
it's just
also,
like and
no,
on top of that I don't think they called the game well because they should have at least like ran the ball more. Like the Chiefs
no,
allowed like I
they
think 180 rushing yards to else.
no
They ran the
the
ball
the
six times the
Ravens.
entire game. Like
No,
that
the
was the
Ravens
worst
offense
part, I think, of
lost.
all.
The Ravens offense lost the game when they decided to abandon the run. Like Gus Edwards barely had any
Yeah.
carries.
I know he
Justice
barely
Hill
touched the
barely got
ball. Like it
involved.
was
I mean, Odell
yeah,
Beckham
that
got barely involved,
neither.
but that's kind of to be
They
expected
used him at
because
the end,
Zay Flowers
and
is the number one
yeah,
guy. And I was also
that's fair.
surprised
Yeah, they kind of yeah.
Bateman barely saw anything also. And Andrews had a few
Yeah,
splash plays here and
he
there,
had one reception for
that
2 yards.
yeah, Andrews had a few
Yeah,
splash plays, but
yeah,
that's it. Like he wasn't really involved in the offense. And like I said, like
right.
the Chiefs defense played well, but it looked like Baltimore
Oh yeah,
completely forgot how to play offense.
yeah. It's weird that they completely abandoned the run. Like I just don't understand like how you do that, and
No,
you just
no,
rely on the passing game when the run game's been such a big thing like all
no,
year for them.
Baltimore's offense feeds off the run. Like, like
Yeah, I mean whether
as
it's even
as much
Lamar
as it
Jackson
sucks.
himself or if
No,
it's the
no,
running backs. I mean,
Lamar's
more
not a
than
pure
most.
passer. No, Lamar's not a pure
Yeah,
passer. The problem is the Ravens work well when the run. I mean, even if the run game is not clicking, like even if they're not getting like 8 yards a carry or something like that, which would be ridiculously awesome. But
oh,
even if the run game, even if the run game is not in complete synchrony, like it's not completely
right.
synchronous, the Ravens offense still feeds off the run game. Like even if you keep getting second and sevens, second and eights, at least you're showing an attempt that while running the ball, you're still showing that you still like are putting the first the first priority of the offense available, and then that way like Lamar still has better Lamar still has better options to choose from when it comes to passing, or if there's RPOs uh, designed by the Ravens offense to coordinate to Jackson's skills, or even doing QB sneaks. Like Baltimore's decision to
Mm,
abandon the run is what cost them this game. That and a bunch of other
yeah,
bogus penalties. I mean, I don't want to blame the
yeah.
penalties first
Bad penalties
because
too.
even
Like, yeah.
Listen, we all know the Super Bowl will probably be rigged for the Chiefs' favor. We all know that Roger Goodell has
Sure.
had the season rigged since it started. Like that's not a question.
The
But
script.
the
Well,
thing is, like, as much as I want to blame ref ball on this game, and there were some very dubious moments with the calls going against the Ravens.
yeah.
There were some
Some bad
laughably
ones. Like
awful
there
calls.
should have been pass interference at least a few times. That was the
Twice,
most obvious
twice,
thing.
especially the one on
Twice,
Odell.
twice. The Odell Beckham one, and I think another one too.
Yeah,
I think it was.
like as
Yeah, I
much
forgot.
as
Yeah,
as much as I want to blame ref ball for this, ultimately Baltimore's offense screwed their chances of getting into the Super
yeah.
Bowl. And
First of all, I mean, like
I'd
even
probably
if you
equate
make
it
all
to
those
like
mistakes,
yeah, I'd probably equate it to like 70% Ravens offense ineptitude, 30% ref
yeah,
ball.
I agree. Because I mean, first of all, like abandoning the run, that like even if you made all those mistakes, like you definitely shouldn't do that. Second of all the mistakes they made was, the fumble and there's another fumble I think that they actually got lucky on where the Chiefs couldn't convert. But I mean, Zay Flowers fumbling that changed the whole game. The pick in the end zone, and then also like I mean, yeah, and then ref ball. I mean, yeah, there were some penalties that got missed on honestly on both.
Not
I
some,
called
a
some stuff on
lot.
the Chiefs too, but more so
Not
on the
some, a
Ravens. Like
lot.
those pass interference calls that were absolutely critical. I think there was missed holds. There's like a lot of missed things, but
Haven't you?
the Ravens
I don't
also
know if you've
committed
noticed
some
this.
penalties like on defense
Yeah,
themselves, though,
yeah.
which
I don't
like
know if
I
you've
really
noticed
think
this.
wasn't necessary.
I don't know if you noticed this. Ever since like the the no call game, the Rams Saints NFC Championship back in 2019.
Oh
Haven't you
yeah,
noticed the
yeah.
Haven't you noticed the NFL has not had even then with all of what they've been trying to implement after 5 years, they still don't know what the hell is pass interference, especially in the playoffs. Like it's
Yeah,
honestly it's honestly egregious to the players and to the fans. Like if you had like a set established rule
mm,
on pass interference, even if we don't agree with it by definition, at least there's some boundary to go off of. Like it seems like the
right.
NFL decides to flip a it
It's
seems like
so
the NFL decides to
subjective. It's like
flip a coin. No, yeah, it's like
yeah,
they
like
decide to flip a
OBJ was
coin
like
on
down in the end
when they want to
zone. They
call
didn't
pass
call
interference or
it, and
not.
then the one in the middle they didn't call. I know it's like so. Well, yeah, exactly. And honestly, they hardly even call it. But then it's like sometimes then they'll call it when like you don't think it. Yeah, it's very weird and subjective. I don't know. I mean, I've seen things where people thought like the Chiefs even got hosed out of a couple calls, but nothing like the Ravens did. I mean, that was just like no
Strangely
protocol.
enough, the Chiefs had most of the penalties called in their favor. I wonder why that
Yeah,
is.
well, that's typical, Chiefs ball, I guess. But anyway, speaking of the Chiefs, though, I mean, I feel like they on defense, obviously, they played absolutely elite.
No,
On
defense they were
offense,
amazing.
um,
I
oh
cannot like
yeah,
say I don't really have any bad words to say about the defense. Like they
no,
played
they
great.
were great. I mean, to
I'm
hold that Ravens
honestly
offense the way they did,
no like no,
yeah,
but like I said, like I think the reason why the Chiefs defense looked even more impressive than um like yeah, I think the reason why they looked even more impressive was because the
Mhm,
Ravens purely abandoned the run. I think if they still had some
mhm.
mix of runs and pass, I mean, of course,
Yeah,
don't make your offense
yeah,
predictable. Like run on first down, pass on second, pass on third. Like the last thing in the
right,
NFL you want is predictability because then you're screwed. But like
yeah,
I think the
no,
big decision the big decision of what made the Ravens the Chiefs defense so good was because the Ravens completely abandoned the run. Like the Chiefs knew
yeah.
like it's pretty much
Yeah,
pass,
they
pass, pass.
noticed that the Ravens have been yeah, and
Of course,
Spagnuolo brought some serious blitzes, so that I mean, that was
no,
like they noticed the
I
Ravens were
think
kept passing it, and they decided to bring the heat, and it
yeah,
worked. It definitely worked. So
I think
yeah,
Romo said
credit to them for that.
I think Romo said Spagnuolo blitzed on like 50% of the passes, which is just insane. But
It felt like
it's
that
insanely
honestly.
just
Like they were
but
blitzing
it's
every other
justified.
play. Yeah, I mean, it
And
was because they kept passing it. So I mean, what are you gonna do? Like good awareness there by Kansas City to bring pressure. Yeah,
I
and
don't
then
even
on
know if it's good
offense,
awareness. Like they're just
it's
taking
just like
advantage of a stupid coaching
well,
job.
I know, I'm just so, like that's like the worst thing. Like mistakes happen, but like to not be able to game plan properly, like it's just mind boggling. Like for the Ravens to completely abandon the run when they
You know what
do
happened?
that like more than most teams in the
Yeah,
league. Like
yeah.
that's the worst part about all of this.
Lamar basically became a deer in headlights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That like that interception there in the end zone. It was just it was just gone at that point. Like there's it
And
was just
didn't he have like a wide
kind of too
open
long,
path
too late.
where he could still run for some yards, like on that play when he threw
Something
the
like that.
interception with about 7 minutes left to go? Like, wasn't there like a fairly
He could
wide
have
open
ran.
lane where he could at least try and ran for the first down?
I think so. I don't. Yeah, probably. I mean, the way that play was. Yeah, I think there was definitely. I mean, yeah, and don't throw in the triple coverage. I mean, like obviously you're not gonna know the receiver is gonna fall down, but like that was just a bad decision to throw
I
the
mean,
ball,
there's really only
into tight
one
coverage.
really only one reasonable scenario where you throw in triple coverage, and that's on a Hail Mary. That's pretty much the only
Yeah,
reason.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Anyway,
Listen,
I guess I want to
I'm
shift
not
over
gonna
to.
yeah, I'm not gonna pretend I'm an offensive coordinator. I'm far from that, but I'd at least like to
Right.
think, if I were designing the Ravens game plan this past Sunday against the Chiefs, I
Running the
would have at
ball.
least like to think
Yeah.
I would have involved a little bit more of the running game.
Yeah, me too. I mean, they definitely needed it, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they
Or
completely abandoned it. On the other hand, yeah.
at least we had a
Anyway,
complete at least we had a competent running attack in the NFC Championship game by both teams.
true, true. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, before we get over to the NFC side, I mean, credits due or credits due. Like the Chiefs did play good. Those blitzes were great. On offense though, I mean, it was really Pacheco had a pretty decent showing. Honestly, he had a volume day. I mean, 24 carries, 68
Well,
yards and a touchdown.
I
So
mean,
they definitely used
also
that. But I mean,
the
what
most
impressed me
underrated
more
group.
was the Mahomes to Kelsey connection. That was
No,
like
no,
truly
I mean,
elite. You know what I
I
mean?
don't really think
11
that's
receptions,
no,
116 yards and a touchdown for Mr.
I don't
Swift.
really think that's
You know what I
impressive.
mean?
I think that's more to be expected. I'll tell you what's impressive. Mahomes, like, for the dagger, he trusted Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Oh yeah,
That's impressive.
MVS.
And
Yeah,
and
MVS between the Bills game and this game, he completely redeemed himself. So I mean,
no,
for the Eagles drop, I mean, this is a
no,
way
but
bigger
I
moment,
don't know.
and now you find
I don't know
this
if you saw the thing with
receiver.
Kadarius Tony. Like, apparently Kadarius Tony before the game when he scratches inactive due to injury, he
Yeah,
said
I
he's
saw that,
completely healthy, and he said he's completely healthy and that the Chiefs
and
were
the
just
Chiefs are
lying.
lying about it.
So does this
Yeah,
leave
I
him
saw
off the
that.
Super
That's
Bowl
bizarre.
roster?
But Reed said, I don't know. Wait, what?
Would this leave him off the Super Bowl roster? I mean, I imagine in the Super Bowl
Uh,
you'd like all hands on deck, and then you could just cut him
I don't know.
afterwards.
It probably depends. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know what's going on with Kadarius Tony. It's like the same stuff that he like did with the Giants, like all these rants and I don't know. Like it's just so weird. But yeah. So he's saying he's not hurt, but the Chiefs said yeah. So and then yeah, he had a whole rant. So
I
I
mean,
mean
ultimately, I think players I mean, regardless of how hurt they are, players always want to, they always want to battle in the playoffs. I mean, we see this countless times with hockey. We've seen
yeah.
this a few times. We've seen this a few times in basketball. We've seen this more often in baseball and also football. I mean, like, I
Mm,
mean, whether you like, especially you always want to contribute towards your team winning, and you feel like even if even like even if you're out for the season, like you still feel like crap whenever the team loses because you're like, oh damn, if I was healthy, like maybe we could have done something, like maybe the game plan could have been different or something like that. So like I can understand it from Tony's perspective. I mean, of course the Chiefs will say
yeah.
like, yeah, he had injuries and he wasn't healthy enough to suit up for the game. So we'll see what happens
I
two
think
weeks
that's
from now.
what
But
he probably felt like he could have. He was good enough to go, and the Chiefs
yeah,
probably thought
I think
otherwise.
I mean
And I think that's probably
I
what it
think
was.
he's more mad about that, honestly. I don't really believe like he hates the Chiefs on like that or anything like that. I just I think he just wanted to be playing in the game, but I don't know. Let's see if he plays 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. If you remember, last Super Bowl, he actually had a big performance against the Eagles. He had a
Yeah, the punt return.
65-yard punt return. Yeah, big
I
punt
believe that was
return,
the
and then
longest punt.
he also had
I
a
believe that was the
touchdown.
longest punt return in Super Bowl
It
history.
was the longest punt return Super Bowl history. So, he's definitely someone who can make plays. It's just he's just made so many bad plays.
He's a bit.
Chasing with the drops, with the
No,
eyes.
Tony's a bit streaky.
You know what I mean?
He's a bit
Yeah.
streaky.
It's like you just don't know what side of you're getting, and then of course the injury concerns are another thing too. But I mean, even when he's on the field, it's just you don't know whether he's gonna be like the human joystick. Like people remember him from the Giants. You don't know if he's gonna be a game changing player, or you don't know if he's gonna be a game changing player for the wrong reason because he went off sides or he just juggled the football and suddenly the other team intercepts it. Like that's happened probably 3 or 4 times this season. So in any case, I mean, he definitely has a great skill. So we'll see if he makes it onto the field. But I feel like one way or another, if he's healthy, like he could be a difference maker, in the game. Like he might either have a touchdown or he might have a drop. So yeah, it's like you just don't know. But we'll have to see. I mean, that's an impact player for sure. In KT. I guess the impressive part.
Speaking of impact players, we might have to talk about Brock Purdy.
Yeah. I guess one last thing. I mean, I guess the impressive part I feel like with Kelsey is that I feel like the Ravens knew that the ball was going there for most of the time, and then even at the on third down, which was ridiculous. But even when the Ravens knew the ball was going to Kelsey, there was nothing they could do to stop it, and I thought that was that really stood out.
Here's the thing: Kyle Hamilton had good coverage on Kelsey for most of the game. It's just that
that's true.
He's Travis Kelsey.
Kelsey just made plays. Yeah. He's one of the best tight ends of all time. So I mean,
he's not a tight end.
Definitely stood up.
He is not. He is not.
He's basically a wide receiver. Yeah.
He is a wide receiver, not basically. He is a wide receiver.
He more than doubled Rishi Rice.
The coward doesn't block. The coward does not. The coward does not block on the offensive line, so automatically disqualified from being a tight end. He's a good receiver, but he's a coward. So therefore, he's not a tight end.
Yeah.
But speaking of tight ends, let's talk about George Kittle and the 49ers.
Oh, man.
And I guess Sam Laporta to an extent.
Shift up, Sam Laporta. They both had pretty big games in the NFC Championship. So I mean, Sam Laporta 97 yards led the team in receptions or receiving yards, and I guess receptions too. 9 for 97, and then George Kittle, who had they had us in the first half. Not gonna lie, thing. Well, he only had 2 catches for 27 yards, but I mean, those were some big plays that they made. But this game was really the game of 2 halves. I mean, the Lions getting off to the 24-7 lead, Niners coming back, and pretty much everything going wrong for the Lions and right for the Niners. And
what killed the Lions?
No, I'll tell you what killed decisions with the field goals. So I'll just put that out there, I guess.
The pivotal moment came when not Robert Woods. What's his name? Josh Reynolds. Yeah. When Josh Reynolds failed to come up with that 4th and 2 catch.
The drop and
that was the pivotal moment right there. That's where the curse of Detroit decided to sneak up on the Lions.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate.
But I mean, it took more than just. Yeah, that was the catalyst of it, because I feel like if they went up 27-10. That just changes. Now the Niners have to go. Now you kick off. Now the Niners have to go all the way down the field.
Because it'd be 3 possessions.
10, but instead what they did
at that moment it's still a 2-possession game. And the Niners went down for a and the Niners went down and scored right there. So there's a big point shift right there. And that was at that point the atmosphere of the stadium. They had its fun. The Brandon Aiyuk catch. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, I was gonna. That was insane. It went off Villador, I think, off his helmet, the line safety, and then it bounced up, and then Aiyuk had the awareness to go grab the football out of midair, turn his body so the ball doesn't hit the ground. I mean, it was just insane. I don't think I've ever seen
I will say this.
Like that one before.
I will say this. On the second 4th down where the Lions fell, the 4th and 3rd, where Dan Campbell decides to go for it again, even though the Lions are down 3 and and it was like a
That one
roughly
I like.
50-yard
I
swing.
and the first one,
No,
like
no,
the
no,
first one, I was still kind
no,
of like,
no.
I
Like,
get
let
it.
me
That
explain
one,
my
I was
logic.
just like, I knew that was gonna fail, and then I was just
No,
so
no, like,
irritated that that
no.
happened.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Mm,
So on that play, the 4th and 3, I mean, I can't blame Dan Campbell fully, but he definitely gets like majority of the call because of course he's the one that said go for it. But let me explain why
right.
I think Dan Campbell made the right decision. And of course, I might sound real stupid, or I could be fairly logical. But
Hey,
here's the thing:
it's your opinion.
if you look at the Lions kicker, Badgley. Like if you saw his range from past 40 yards, he was like 1 for 5. Like he was horrible. And it
Oh,
not
Batsy.
just this season, in
Mm,
his career. Like in his career, anything past 40 yards, he was
really?
horrible. He sucked. There's a reason why the Chargers let him walk or cut him. I don't remember which one they did. And the Chargers are the teams that are is the team that always sucks on special teams. There's a reason why the
Right.
Chargers have continually lost crucial games when it mattered most, because they have horrible special teams. And of course, as you know, the Lions they cut Riley Patterson like midway through the season. They had to sign whoever they could get, and Mike Badgley was there. So anything beyond 40 yards, uh, Badgley was a horrible kicker, and it kind of shows because Dan Cable clearly did not have any faith in him. If Dan Campbell did have faith,
Yeah,
because we saw before the Lions did take 3 points before when they could have easily gone when they could have easily gone for the fourth
they
down.
did.
And yeah, so like you saw him at that moment, like that's because Dan Campbell knew Mike yeah, he knew Badgley's potential, but he also knows the system. Like Dan Campbell runs through analytics, so and gut feeling. So anything beyond like 40 yards, Mike Badgley has sucked. So like uh in that sense, I don't blame him. And also, let's not forget, Dan Campbell has been aggressive about his play calling since day one, ever since he came to the
Yeah.
Detroit Lions. That has never been a secret. Never once has he really called like a passive game or been way too conservative or gotten too cute with the ball. Never once has Dan Campbell really done that. He's always been aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. Like he's always like on the Daytona 500, always keeping his foot on the gas at like 200 plus miles an hour. He's always doing that. So, and of course, like Dan Cable has done this all season, and it's worked very well for the Lions all season, even in the crucial moments against the Rams and against the Buccaneers. Why not do it against the 49ers? If Dan Campbell went passive in that moment and missed a field goal, think about it. All of us would be berating Dan Campbell. We'd be like, why the hell didn't you
Oh,
trust this offense on fourth down? You had a top 5 scoring offense the entire league. Why the hell didn't you go for it on fourth down? Think about it from the flip side. That's exactly what we would have been berating Dan Campbell if Batchley,
that's true.
in all likelihood, probably would have missed a field goal. But likewise, now we're on the flip side. We're like, why didn't you let the kicker kick? So obviously there was no winning matchup in that scenario.
Yeah.
But but going back to that, I don't blame Campbell because I don't blame Campbell for it because, well, of course, like he's gonna get the blame. But it's like I think it's the right call because one, Badgley is a horrible kicker outside of 40 yards, and two, Dan Campbell has been an aggressive play caller since day one. This is exactly what he's been doing all the time. I rest my case.
Yeah, that kind of puts things in perspective because they did kick the
I,
field goal
I mean,
before
I
halftime.
mean,
You know what I
listen.
mean?
If you disagree, just tell me. We could at least like I don't know. I could at least try and understand your philosophy on why it's wrong.
Yeah, I did because I mean, it's just I don't know, it's just unfortunate. I mean, like, yeah, this gives perspective, and but at the same time, like, it's just the first one, like, I kind of understood why. Like, it's like at that point you're up what 2 scores. Like 2 scores would have been safe, but I mean, if they kicked the field goal, like I think that would have still been the smarter decision. But I mean, going for it
Yeah, yeah.
there, like
I'm
Reynolds
talking
dropped
about.
it. Like
No,
you
I'm
still
just
have a
talking
chance to
purely about
win.
the
The
second one.
second one, though.
Yeah, I'm just
Oh,
talking
the
about
second
purely on
one.
the second
The
one.
second one,
Yeah,
oh, the second one, I hate it because the Lions didn't momentum, they didn't have anything going for them, and they still had a chance to tie the game.
Well, think about
And
it this way:
then
what
you get
better
some
way to
momentum on your
generate
side,
momentum?
things will be better.
No, think about it this way: what better way to generate momentum than with the play call of his life, getting that fourth down conversion, reigniting the Lions' offense? A kicker's not going to. I mean, with all due respect,
That's true. Yeah,
Badgley. Wait, let me just even make sure that's his first name. I don't even know if his name is Mike.
Michael
Oh yeah,
Badgley. Yeah,
yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Badgley.
With all
Mike
due respect,
Badgley.
Mike Badge Mike Badgley is not going to reignite the Lions offense from from being all out chick in the first half to basically being in a comatose state the entire second half. Mike Badgley is not doing that. What would reignite the offense would be a crucial fourth down conversion by Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jameson Williams or Sam Laporta or something like
Yeah.
that.
I don't
That would
know what
have
happened to
that would
Josh Reynolds. He just went cold. Once the Lions lost their momentum, he was dropping everything until I guess he touchdown, kind of in base. Well, that wasn't even his touch. That was
no
Jameson
that was
Williams. But
Jameson
I mean,
Williams.
yeah, yeah. Never mind. That was Jameson Williams. But Josh Reynolds went he couldn't catch a call. I mean, it just got really bad. I mean, it's just I don't know, but. Yeah, the second one, it's just maybe it's not even so much about reigniting the offense. It's just kind of you don't want to play yourself out of the game, and I feel like by
Yeah, but
not getting
let,
that first down, now the
let's
Niners
also
score a
let's also
touchdown
not
and
forget.
really get ahead of them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but let's also not forget this. I mean, if I'm correct in saying this, the San Francisco 49ers scored on every single possession in the second half, aside from the last possession on the kneel down. So we also got to talk about Detroit's defense bending. No one's going to talk about that. They're always going to bring up Dan Campbell's
That's true. Everyone's kind of
fourth
forgot
and three
about.
butcher. Because
Yeah. Plus the Jameer Gibbs
Detroit's
fumble, I think that was a
yeah,
big turning point too.
yeah,
Because if they did the ball there, that basically tied the game much quicker than it probably would have been. And you know what I
no,
mean.
but
So at that point, it
going
was
back to
kind
the
of
def,
kind of a gut. Yeah.
yeah, but going back to the defense, I mean, you're not going to hold down San Francisco for 60 minutes. I mean,
No.
Green Bay tried their hardest, and they almost did, but
Yeah. They almost did.
San Francisco drank a magical elixir with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they're able to, get the
Yeah.
offense to
Get
win
to
the
the
game
end
for them, and
zone.
have Drake Greenlaw take the game, seal the game with the interception. So, but
Okay. Right.
like I said, I'm not expecting Detroit's defense to hold San Francisco for 7 points for the rest of the game. That would have been insane. But I believe San Francisco scored on literally every single possession from the second half onwards. So Detroit's defense gave up,
I think they
was it
did. Mhm.
34 unanswered points from no wait, it's at 7. Detroit's defense gave up
20.
27 unanswered points
27.
before
Yeah.
they scored
Right. Yeah.
essentially a garbage time touchdown. And speaking of the garbage time touchdown,
Yeah.
why
Oh
the hell
yeah.
did they decide to run it at when they're at the three
I
yard line? When
know.
there's three no,
Yeah.
when there's
I know. That
three
was another.
timeouts left. No, there's three
Yeah.
timeouts left,
Because now you
and you
can't
have
get the
a
ball
minute.
back.
Yeah,
Like.
you have a minute on the clock. Why, Dan?
Yeah.
Just trust the pass right there.
I know. You really thought
And
they
no, think about it this
it
way.
made kind of. I don't know.
No,
Tough
no, I'm
decision
saying
they
think about it
made.
this way.
Yeah.
Even if you failed on that fourth down situation, guess what? San Francisco still has to start at the 2 yard line. They need some
You get
serious
safety
luck
there.
to
That's
push
true.
them out there. No, not even just a safety. Even if you failed in that situation to score a touchdown, and let's say you failed to score a safety, and let's just say you hold San Francisco in check and you force them on a 3 down. Sure, you'd have no timeouts left, but when you get the ball back, assuming you've taken all the timeouts correctly and everything, you'd still have roughly, I don't know, given the punt, you're probably around the 40 yard line or so, given about 40 seconds left. And I mean, but then
You down
again,
two
at that point,
scores though.
yeah. So it's a horrible
Yeah,
situation.
that's a
But
tough
let's just say
argument. Yeah.
the Lions did not have to burn that timeout on the last touchdown. Now it's 34-31 with a
Right.
minute 5 left to go.
Yeah.
And let's say you still miss the
Yeah.
onside
And
kick.
all three
Let's just say
times.
that. Yeah, let's just say you still miss the
Mm-hmm.
onside kick and you still hold San Francisco in check. You'll get the ball back, and of course, since the onside kick was around midfield, Um, and let's just say San Francisco is
Your
really
turn.
smart. They were able to pin the punt back at their own 10, back at Detroit's 10.
Mhm.
Guess what? You'd still have time for one last possession. You still got this. You still got the sidelines to
Yeah.
stop the clock. You have about 40 seconds left
Sure.
to drive down the field.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
Yeah.
this comes down back to this comes back down to Mike Badgley. If you didn't trust him in the
Oh
situation
boy.
before, it was like a 45-yard field goal, and let's just say you're in that
Uh-huh.
same spot, 45-yard field goal to
Uh,
tie the game with the clock expiring. What do you
At
do at
that
that
point, it's
point?
like you kind of have to, right? Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
at that
Like
point at that
you
point
need
you
the end.
gotta
You either need the end zone or yeah.
at that point you take the three.
Yeah, I mean, if it's to tie the game, like, or you know what I mean, if it's end zone or field goal, and you have 31, you need 34. Yeah, at that point you tie the game because otherwise you're really risking it. You know.
No, I'm saying like Detroit still realistically had a chance to win the game even at the very end, but that first timeout during the goal line situation, that was ultimately the final. That was ultimately the final nail in the coffin. Uh, okay, looks like
That would
looks
be
like he's
they couldn't quite do it. So yeah, that was kind of the nail in the coffin. Yeah, just completely, yeah, a meltdown on defense, which I guess is probably going to be the last thing that's talked about. But obviously, the Aiyuk catch, the fourth down decision, the Aiyuk catch, the Gibbs fumble, and then another fourth down decision not to tie it. Now the Niners get up by 10, and then yeah, you don't stop the clock correctly, or you don't manage.
you
You call a
mismanaged your
timeout. You don't have.
timeouts.
Yeah, you misuse the timeouts. Now you only have two instead of three. You can't stop the Niners on the next possession basically. So you have to onside kick, and basically at that point the game's over. So yeah, I mean it's rough. Like it really is rough for the Lions because like I really thought like they would, they would have it and they didn't. And it's like the momentum shift was a real thing because like 27-10
We
versus
felt it.
you
We
know
felt it.
yeah, once the Niners started getting going, like they really got going. And 27-10 versus 24-17 is just such a big difference.
And
It's
we
such a
have to
big
keep it,
difference.
and we also have to keep in mind the clock too, like because that would have been a three-possession game for San Francisco. The third quarter is already waning. Now with the
Mhm.
stop, it's sure the clock is still waning, but it's still the
Right.
third quarter, and it's only a two-possession game at that point. You still
Yeah.
have a good chance. If it was
Yeah.
three possessions with that same situation, the chances are slim. I'm not going to say zero because, of course, we've seen impossible magic done before in these situations, but it would have been slim.
Would have been slim. Yeah. Yeah. Up three scores and then, like basically an extra you have to get like an extra possession out of that. And yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what would have really happened. Like maybe the Niners still would have caught up, who knows? But at the same time, like that would have I felt like been the much safer play. And then obviously like I just feel like they definitely needed to stop the bleeding at that point and they didn't. And I don't know. I feel like that one, the first one I kind of didn't really realize how bad it would be at the time. The second one, as soon as they made that decision, I had a
I
bad
mean,
feeling about it and I was
listen,
like,
the
this
fir-
isn't
the
gonna work.
first the, f-
And then, you know what I
the
mean?
first one, Josh Reynolds, without a doubt, should have called that ball,
He should have
without a doubt.
absolutely cut that ball. Yeah.
And
The second,
that
yeah.
wasn't
Mhm.
that wasn't his only drop of the day. Like,
Oh no. There was like worse ones. Like when the Lions were basically
yeah,
they were like when they were
on the third and
phased.
long, right? On
Yeah.
the third and long, late in the fourth quarter, Josh Reynolds had a ball like right there,
Yeah.
and he had the yips. He couldn't
Yeah.
catch.
I feel like at that point, like the Lions were kind of phased because they just saw the whole momentum shift because everyone was like dropping it on that one possession. I feel like and that kind of just didn't work out.
And
So
and likewise, we saw Detroit abandon the run. Like the
mhm.
run, I mean, I'm not going to say the run is the primary factor for the Lions offense, but the run facilitates how Detroit controls their game.
Yeah,
When Detroit
Montgomery,
abandoned the
Gibbs. I mean,
yeah,
Gibbs was electric like in the
yeah,
first half. That was
yeah.
insane. Montgomery like played really well
No,
too. Like
you
know,
could see like Detroit's running game plan. It kind of died after the Gibbs fumble. Like we saw that. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
when the Lions offense became extremely predictable. And what did
yeah.
we just talk about? Like like 30 minutes ago, that's exactly what happened with Baltimore. Once they abandoned what they're, I mean, of course, the Lions are best known for the passing attack. That's not a question.
Yeah.
And given those two teams, the Lions have a far superior passing attack to the Baltimore Ravens. But given those two teams, I'd still give the edge to Baltimore's running game over Detroit's. It's close, but I'd give that edge.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
But
Edwards,
once
yeah,
the Lions
Vertex and stuff. Mhm.
once the Lions basically killed the run after the Gibbs fumble, their offense became predictable. That's how San Francisco was able to capitalize everything.
Mhm.
And ultimately,
Get stopped.
I
Mhm.
still don't fully fault Dan Campbell's fourth and three, even though it certainly deserves some scrutiny. I blame the Lions. How do I say it? I blame them for being too conservative on offense, and for and of course the defense eventually got winded. You're not going to hold San Francisco for 60 minutes, as I said before.
Yeah.
That's practically impossible. But the defense went from a thick wooden plank to bending slightly to then being completely fractured.
Yeah,
And
just
it's
like
a
the
damn
bleeding
sh-
up. We see
and
this in college football all the time when a lesser talented team has a great defense and they hold the other team, the offense doesn't do anything, and
yeah,
eventually
and
more talented team will wear them down.
it's a
I've seen it
damn
both ways
shame.
with Rutgers, both
It's a
ways.
damn shame because America would have rooted for Detroit in the Super Bowl. America,
I
not
know.
just Michigan. All of the 50 states.
Yeah, it would have been a wonderful thing, and because the Ravens didn't get in, now we're stuck with the Chiefs and the Niners. So I mean, anyway, yeah, why don't we like briefly to give this one a preview, and obviously, we'll spend a lot more time on it next week because that'll be the big show. So,
Well,
one
not
take.
next week. The week after.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll be previewing it next week, but
Yeah.
yeah, 2 Sundays from now is the big game. So I mean, we've been doing this like all season, so it's gonna be interesting to see this one come to a close. Like I said in the beginning, it is a heavyweight matchup. That I guess I'm excited about. I mean, there's a lot to not like, but I feel like we're gonna get a good game out of it. So I think that might be one of the saving
Kyle
graces.
Shanahan is going to be out for blood.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be going for revenge here because of what happened 4
Actually,
years
I saw
ago.
something on Bleacher Report where Kyle Shanahan, no, Mike Shanahan and Ed McCaffrey, Christian's father, they won
Mhm.
a Super Bowl together.
Right. Oh,
Now Kyle and Christian have that same chance.
wow. That's so cool. That is so cool. That's an interesting storyline right there. Yeah. I just I don't know. Like
That would
yeah,
truly be a like father like son moment.
for both of them. Yeah, for both of them.
And also, Christian McCaffrey deserve. Like, listen, I get majority of America hates this Super Bowl matchup. I
Right.
myself am I myself am one of them, but I can give you a few good reasons to root for the 49ers. One, Christian McCaffrey's in the Super Bowl. Two,
Electric. Yeah.
Brock Purdy's underdog story continues. Three,
Yeah.
George Kittle has a chance to get a ring. Four, Debo Samuel has a chance to get a ring. Five, Fred Warner has a chance to get a Super Bowl ring. Six, Nick Bosa has a chance to get a Super Bowl ring. Seven,
Chase Young.
Chase Young has a chance to get a Super Bowl ring.
There we go. Wow.
And
Yeah.
eight, Kyle Shanahan has a chance to get a Super Bowl ring.
Right.
That's all I need to say.
So if we were to do this for I guess the thing is the problem with doing it for the Chiefs is that they all already won one last year, so you kind of just have to be rooting for them to win
That
another
and their
one.
fan base is completely cancerous and obnoxious.
Yeah, even more so than before, I would say. But I mean, I'll be rooting. I don't know. As someone, I guess I feel like I'm
Don't
kind
you
of
dare. Don't you dare. Don't you
sorry.
dare.
I feel like I'm almost perfectly neutral with the Niners and somewhat positive with the Chiefs, mainly because of Isaiah Pacheco. Like, I don't even really care about the
Oh,
Eagles
come.
thing from
Listen,
last year anymore. But I mean,
he won last
that's
year, all right?
motivating last year. Wait, what?
Pacheco won it last year. Give these guys a chance.
All right.
Especially the ones who experienced the Super Bowl heartbreak 4 years ago. They deserve their chance.
Yeah, fair shot. I just want to say though, like the Niners, like regardless of who you're rooting for, the Niners have to be careful because if they come into this game the way they played against the Packers or even the Lions, they're going to be in big trouble because the Chiefs they played. I feel like they've went into tough environments. They've played tougher opponents, and they've actually been the way more consistent
I
team from the
I
jump.
would
And that's what has the
I would
Niners
actually
here.
I would actually argue against the gridiron right there. See, the thing is, the Niners had to deal with adversity in both of their home games here. They had to constantly fight being down under, fighting the clock, fighting electric offenses
It's true,
that have
actually.
just
They
caught
have some
fire.
comeback pedigree, which they never had before. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So I'd also give the edge to the 49ers there because they've learned the art of resiliency right there. And of course the Chiefs offense went into a coma in the second half. Same with the Lions. But
That's fair. Yeah.
here's the thing. Coma or no coma, you still had to come down from 3 possessions and a half. And they did that. They chipped away at it. They worked their way towards it. I would argue that the Niners facing adversity in both of the games. And while you could certainly argue it looks suspect, I'd say it wouldn't be so suspect if they made it to the Super Bowl, and they did. You know why? Because they learned from their resiliency. They learned to bend but don't break, as dumb as that saying sounds. They learned to trust in each
Yeah.
other. They learned how to fight back. They learned how to take the lead. They learned how to stomp at the throats of their enemies. And now they're here. And now they have a
Yeah.
chance to avenge themselves from 4 years ago.
Right. It's a feel. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a feel good story in a way. I guess they have overcome a lot. It's just they can't afford to get off to a slow start against the Chiefs because you can't trust the Chiefs to lose the game if they're down 10. You certainly can't trust the Chiefs to lose the game if they're up 10. Because if I had to pick a team to come back from a 10-point deficit in the Super Bowl, and like I know the Chiefs did this last time, I feel way more confident in the Chiefs being able to make the comeback than San Francisco. And I know like the Niners have shown it now.
that's because the Eagles had pretty crappy linebackers, although no one said it last year.
They did. And I
You
feel like
want
the
to
Niners, yeah. The
the
Niners
Niners
like are
the,
probably the more like
yeah,
talented team, but
the
the
Niners have
Chiefs I
two
feel like have been playing better
the
lately. Like the
Niners have two beast at linebackers named Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. Those are two
yeah, no,
beasts right
they're
there.
loaded. That Niners defense is absolutely stacked from like top to especially the defensive line is it's a
Yeah,
scary thing for
Javon
that.
Hargrave too, Eric Armstead.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are dogs.
They're dogs, yeah. They're gonna cause some problems for the Chiefs offensive line, so they better be ready. Of course,
Right.
Mahomes can
Well,
get
I
out of
mean,
pressure.
if there is
Uh,
one good thing, Joe Tooney should be back for the Chiefs for like on the offensive line. Joe Tooney should be back in the next two
good.
weeks, and I myself, as a Patriots fan, I know Joe Tooney very well. He he's basically an Iron Man. Barely misses any snaps. Has always been fully healthy. So like, and of course, like he missed a chance to play in the AFC Championship game, but I think he should be back within 2 weeks, and he's gonna make life for the Niners defensive line just a bit more difficult. Because and
Yeah,
even if
yeah,
you watch the footage from Super Bowl 53, Joe Tooney took on Aaron Donald a couple times one on one, and of course he lived to tell the tale. So that should tell you about who Joe Tooney is.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
if you can if you
yeah.
can hold Aaron Donald in check,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
You could probably
uh,
handle, the Niners defensive line that we just talked about, and
well,
even
he's gonna have Chase Young and I believe let's see who's the left side of the DT. Is it Armstead or is it Hargrave? I forget which one is on the. He lines up on the same side as Chase Young. I forget which one does that.
uh, I honestly can't remember right now. It's a good question.
Regardless,
It's one of them. They're both the D tackles, but I
it's
mean,
either Hargrave or Armstead. I think it might be Armstead. I'm not too sure,
it
but
might be Armstead. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a good question, honestly.
regardless, I'm like here's the thing. Like here's also another thing that's been exploited on the Chiefs' offensive line over the past few years. Their tackles have been exposed a lot,
Yeah, yeah.
and especially with uh who's the Chiefs' right tackle who basically commits a penalty on every single snap.
Oh,
Uh,
Jawan Taylor.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's a problem. You
he's
can't
he's gonna be lining up. He's gonna be lining up against some guy named Nick Bosa. Good luck.
Uh-huh. Nick Bosa's gonna be coming out for blood as well. So I mean that, yeah. Man, that Niners D line is scary good. Like that's gonna be
Do,
really interesting how they go against
wait,
up
listen,
against that Chiefs
if
offensive
this
line.
Niners team wins the Super Bowl, and I seriously hope you do, this could potentially go down as one of the best defensive lines in NFL history.
Mm,
Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric
yeah,
Armstead, and Chase Young.
yeah,
Of course, the DTs they could be flipped. I'm
right.
not staring at the Niners charts right now,
Mm-hmm.
but that could potentially be one of the best DLs in
I think,
NFL history to win a championship.
yeah, that's true. And then their offensive core. I mean, you have a really good playmaking core. I mean, between McCaffrey, Debo, Aiyuk,
Yeah. I mean, think about it. I
check.
mean,
I mean, like they
we'll,
have weapons all over the place.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
we'll get more into this next week.
Yeah,
But we could say this. I mean, I don't know if we can make the argument at quarterback, but we could say the Niners arguably have the best running back in the NFL, arguably have the
yeah.
best tight end in the NFL, and
Mm-hmm.
arguably
Kittle.
have the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah,
McCaffrey, Kittle, and Samuel.
yeah. And then they have that
And
scary good D line that we just talked about
yeah,
too,
and they still
and a
have
pretty
like
good secondary.
yeah, and Brandon Ayuk is no slouch. Like he's
Oh
to
yeah.
be paid attention to. Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Juszczyk can get involved in the passing game, and even when his number's called upon, he delivers. Jawan Jennings.
Yeah, every
And
like if
certainly delivered.
yeah,
He certainly delivered when Debo Samuel had to leave the game against the Packers
mhm,
due to a shoulder injury. Jawan
yeah,
Jennings stepped up in place and did his magic right there. His number wasn't called often, but when his number was called, he delivered for the
yeah.
Niners.
If you need him on third down, like he's definitely your guy. He's made a lot of big plays on third downs to get that first. But yeah, I mean it. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about this more next week. I guess kind of like a final note. It's like different kind of adversity. Like the Niners. I feel like they really went through adversity in the playoffs. Like we just mentioned, coming back against Green Bay, coming back against Detroit. Kind of finding a way to win even when things kind of look bleak and that's good for a team because I mean, the Niners kind of don't really have that big game reputation. Maybe now they'll have that belief if they're down to Kansas City again that they can still come back and win. And with a talented roster like that, they're probably going to need they're probably going to need that. So that's a good thing for the Niners. The Chiefs, on the other hand, like they've had quiet this season. I mean, this is not the same old Chiefs from last year. I mean, they've had to deal with issues on their offensive line. They've had to deal with receiver drops. They were number one in receiver drops. They lost games because of that.
But
But it's
unlike past Chiefs seasons,
yeah.
the defense
I
was
was
top
I was
tier.
right about to get there. Yeah, the Chiefs defense is top tier. They're better than I think they've ever been in
No,
the Mahomes era.
they're better than at any moment the Chiefs defense has been in the past 6 years, ever since Patrick Mahomes took over.
Best
Like,
defense of the Mahomes era. So it's a different Chiefs team. It's more built around like I'd say the running game. I feel like Pacheco has really become
yeah,
feature back,
no.
and
I 100%.
the defense is
I
elite.
I 100% agree with you on that. Like, it seems like this time the Chiefs scheming, they seem to be involving more of the running game, and not just directly running, like even utilizing the line of scrimmage to their advantage a lot more than what
Yeah,
they have in the past years. Like past years, they've always been more of like
yeah.
pass, or pass run
Tyreek and
pass.
all. Yeah,
Now
exactly.
they're
A lot
now
more
they're
pass.
like yeah now with like how they're using Pacheco,
Mm-hmm.
and as we've noticed, like compared to last year and this season, they seem to fail to like excuse me, they failed to adapt the scheme to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the
That's
running
true.
back they drafted after they won the Super Bowl 4 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I think part of that's because like I think he was injured and he came back and he was already a second back. But I mean lately, like I feel like they've been using Edwards Hilaire like a bit better. Well, maybe not so much this last game, but in the previous ones, like he's had some good plays. But yeah, Pacheco's really become their guy in the ground. They've really become kind of a much more, I guess, run heavy team, almost like very balanced, I guess, and kind of less dependent on the receivers. Also, Rashee Rice has really stepped up for them when they needed a guy. But yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
this,
he
you
didn't
know,
really do a whole lot. He didn't really do a whole lot on Sunday, but
Yeah,
He's
I
still
think
going to be
Sunday was
targeted.
the Kelsey show, but other than that, the last few weeks, like he's really been the guy for Mahomes. Whenever Mahomes kind of needed, got to make a big play on offense, like
Yeah,
they
but
call him shooters. You
like
know.
I said, to to seal the game, I'm still really surprised that MVS got the call. But
Yeah, that's all fair.
I
Hmm.
think now this is showing that Mahomes has trust in MVS. Like
That's
he has
fair.
trust in the receivers other than Kelsey.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that might make things a little bit more interesting on who you're guarding.
it
Like
could. Yeah.
no
Hmm.
longer can you say, "Oh, let's double team Kelsey and let's take our chances with the Rice or MVS."
Right.
Now that Mahomes has seemed to build trust with MVS, especially especially given that moment,
Hmm.
it's going to make scheming a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, you got to guard Kelsey, you got to guard MVS, you got to guard Rice. So I mean, you gotta watch out for a bunch of different receivers. Yeah, so I mean, it's been an unusual year for the Chiefs where they've dealt with adversity. They've become much more run oriented, much more defensive oriented, and they've kind of had to overcome those struggles. But I mean, they've really been able to figure it out and kind of turn it on in the playoffs. Really, kind of show their dominance and find the guys that are going to make the big plays. And then for the Niners, they've been kind of rolling for most of the season. They have a ridiculously talented roster, but they've kind of, I feel like, faced more of their adversity in the playoffs as opposed to the Chiefs kind of in the regular season. So yeah, both teams in different ways, I feel like, have faced adversity this year that we probably haven't seen in previous years, and they're battle tested. So I mean, this game between them, it's definitely going to be a heavyweight fight, and yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I am excited to see it, even though, like, it might not be the fan favorite matchup. I think it has the potential of being a really good game. I think the teams are pretty evenly matched, to be honest. But I mean,
Mm,
so yeah,
I
maybe I
give
don't
more of
know,
the edge to San Francisco in the talent,
Cisco. Talent
hey,
wise, yes, but I feel like the
but
Chiefs have executed better, and I feel like
but
that
hey,
the Niners
listen,
problems.
as humans, we live to be surprised every day. So let's see what happens 2 Sundays from now.
Yeah,
Either way, go Niners.
we're Niners. I don't know. I might be going with the Chiefs like
How
slightly.
dare you? How
I
dare
won't
you?
be like obnoxious about it like last year, but
Right, right. Okay.
yeah, I'll be like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll be like somewhat favoring them. It's kind of like what the Ravens Chiefs, like, kind of wanted the Ravens to win, but I wasn't like opposed to the Chiefs winning. In this case, I think I'll want the Chiefs to win, but I won't be opposed to the Niners winning. I'll just put it that way for now. But anyway, I'm excited for next week's episode. So, and yeah, next week we'll definitely break down, do some more of this kind of breakdown. We'll break down the teams by possession, which is always a fun exercise, and see who really has the match advantages in the matchups, and do score predictions, talk about everything else you need to know about the game, and yeah, and we'll I guess send you off into Super Bowl Sunday. But I mean, until then, this has been another episode of Sports Vibe. So as always, stay tuned. Enjoy your week, and we'll be back next week with the big Super Bowl preview.